Welcome to Season 2 of Keeping It 100, Real Conversations with Jacqui, where each week we will discuss life experiences with subject matter experts. Stay tuned for this next episode. Hello and welcome to Keeping It 100, Real Conversations with Jacqui, where we discuss real life experiences with special guests each week. And today we have Curtis and Lisa in the house, and we are going to be discussing intuitive eating and basically battling fat loss through online fitness, right? And I'm going to give them a chance to introduce themselves. And thanks you guys for joining us today. How are you guys doing today?
Fantastic.
Yes. Good. Yeah, good. How are you doing, Curtis?
I'm good.
Fabulous.
It's a beautiful day here.
It is, right? So Lisa and Curtis actually own a company called Lean Gainers, and we're going to chat a little bit more about it later. But like the topic of discussion today is just talking about intuitive eating and basically just like how to target fat loss through online fitness. So how about Lisa? Let's just go with you first. Introduce yourself. You've been on the show before, so you're kind of familiar with the audience now. Just tell everybody, give them a little reminder of who you are, where you're from, what you do, and then we'll jump to Curtis next.
Cool. Thank you, Jacqui. Yeah. My name's Lisa. I am a personal trainer in the city of Calgary. Also known as Mohkinstsis on Treaty 7. And I'm also a current student at the University of Calgary, finishing my social work degree. I'm also swinging this amazing online fitness community called Lean Gainers, which I'm really excited to talk about today on that topic on fat loss and intuitive eating. So thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. You are very welcome. As you guys can hear, my dog is being a little chappy on the background, but I'll try and make sure I put her at bay. Curtis, tell us a little bit about yourself here. Nice to meet you, buddy.
Yeah, I'm Curtis. I'm currently in Calgary, Alberta, but I've been coaching since 2005, which has been like kind of like a whirlwind of like coaching personal trainers, managing personal trainers, owning my own gym. Currently, I am operating with Lisa a body transformation online coaching business. And that's what we're going to talk to you guys about today is kind of what we're doing and how we're helping people kind of obtain like real life living and not just regimented, hardline meal plans and rules and tracking everything, but actually using a little bit more intuitive eating.
I love that. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, there's so many different styles of coaching, and this is why you guys are on the show today, so that we can kind of dive a little bit more about intuitive eating, which I'm actually curious to learn a little bit more about that too. So what would you discuss when somebody's listening to this and they have no idea? When you say intuitive eating, what do you mean by that? Like, maybe we can take that away, Lisa or Curtis? Lisa, let's do it.
Yeah.
So when someone mentions intuitive eating, it can be quite overwhelming at first for anyone who's starting a new fitness journey because we really do need to structure and educate our clients first and foremost before they get into the level of intuitive eating. Mm-hmm. Intuitive eating is like how we kind of structure our programming as the final step. We want all of our clients to get to that point. And it's really trusting our own body's chemistry, makeup, and signals and cues for hunger, rather than being extremely structured right off the bat. But we do need, like any sort of formal training, we need structure. If we want to get good at something, we need to get down to the basics. And that's usually with education and counting what a macro is. What are your daily caloric intake? How much energy are you expending? Let's keep track of those numbers. But we're not going to make that someone's focal point in their whole life. I wouldn't want to make my client be on that system for a life. I want them to really trust their body as they're changing their physicality, to really trust their choices that they make. So.
That makes total sense. So like, I mean, of course, like just like anything, it's like building a habit and kind of finding that sort of structure. Because like not everyone has that sense of intuitive eating where like you eat when you're hungry and you stop when you're full. Some people just eat for the sake of eating, or like you wake up in the morning like, okay, I need breakfast. I need to have breakfast, and you eat breakfast. And then maybe you know what I mean? You go through a routine. So you guys are basically structuring your clients to be able to kind of listen to that body. Is that the sense of it?
I think it's people going through like a learning curve. Intuitive eating would be the goal. And ultimately, that's how people want to be. They don't want to be tracking macros their entire life, putting food onto a scale every single day. But if you don't spend a period of time where you're doing that, how are you really going to know what 50 grams of protein in the form of steak looks like, or in the form of chicken breast or chicken thighs, and how much fat might be in there? So intuitive eating being the goal, it can't be the starting place, because most people don't have the intuitive knowledge yet. So we're going to start someone off on, say, like a meal plan, and they've got breakfast, lunch, and dinner all prescribed to them, and they can start with this really regimented lifestyle, but they can't stay there for too long because there's free flowing. They've got kids, they've got family, they got husbands or wives. So eventually they just learn the structure of breakfast, lunch, dinner, how to create snacks, and what size those start to be. And then maybe we'll take that where you go from a structured meal plan to tracking your macros and being a little bit more flexible dieting, where it's like, hey, I want to sub out this protein for a different protein. How many grams? And you measure it and you weigh it, but then you start to understand what 50 grams of, or 40 grams or 30 grams of protein looks like. And then once you've kind of got that knowledge down, you can now start making really good choices, or easier choices. So for example, like I shouldn't have Oreo cookies in the house, but I do. A little bit of weakness in the grocery store results in that. But I do. And yesterday I came home, I was super hungry. Before I knew it, I was grabbing 2 Oreos, and they were in my mouth. I was eating, and they were inside me. Now, I know that that's going to create an insulin spike. I know that 2 Oreo cookies are 40 grams of carbs in the form of sugar. So I'm creating an insulin spike, and that's going to create a negative hormonal response for the next 4 hours. So intuitively, I went to my fridge and I have chopped up pre-cooked steak, and I know each portion is 40 grams of protein. So I grabbed one of those, I noshed it really quickly, got that in my system, which is going to dull that insulin spike. It's going to slow that sugar response system to create the best result of what could have been like a mistake, but it's not really a mistake. But intuitively, I'm able to make that decision really quickly without panicking. It was a mistake, but who cares? It's just a couple of Oreo cookies, and those mistakes happen all the time. But if we're intuitively eating, we have the knowledge to fix a mistake really quickly, or even have Oreo cookies because that's what you want to have.
Because it's life, right? Like life happens, and we need to live a little. And that's actually a very good way of looking at it. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll have ice cream, and then I'll grab a few almonds just to kind of balance it out, kind of thing. But yeah, right. So I get
maybe a chicken breast in there.
Maybe a chicken breast too, I guess. I'm always eating, but that's another story. That's amazing. I love that. I'm a huge believer on balance. So like when we're talking about a life balance where, you know, you're still taking care of your health, you're still eating right, you're still working out, but you also have that social aspect where you're still going to go out for dinners and stuff like that. So how does that play a role when someone now is out for dinner during that programming that you guys have? Is it a similar approach?
It's the exact same approach.
Okay. Yeah.
So for example, like if you're on program, I consider myself to be on a program all the time. Maybe a soft program or a regimented program. So like in your program, like you've got your daily requirements, your daily needs. So you're going to go out with friends. So maybe the first time you're going to track it, you're going to figure out how many calories, how many carbs are in each glass of wine, and do all the math and track and figure out how to do that best, how much protein you need. So if you want to have 3 glasses of wine, and figure that out. But once you've done that a few times, well, you don't need to keep tracking it. You already know that 3 glasses of wine and this much meat, and your intuition can take over. So just go out and have your fun and conduct your day accordingly. You just need time and practice. Yeah.
So now I have a question for you guys. Maybe Lisa can answer this one too, or either of you guys. So when, you know how like sometimes what happens is when you do know that you're going out that evening for dinner, would you ever advise your clients to basically maybe reduce that caloric intake throughout the day and save it for dinner time, or just try to keep it as balanced as possible even when you're out for dinner?
That's an excellent question. So how would I go about answering that is it depends on the client's stage of change within their program. So every client comes to us either as a newbie in the program, you know, they've 3 months in, 6 months in, some are years in. And it depends. It really does depend on how they're doing. So let's say I'm going to start with, if they're a new client coming to us, absolutely. I would start them off saying, okay, if you know you're going to indulge in the evening, you're going to have fun. Don't stress about anything that you're going to be putting into your body, because it's going to spike your cortisol. It's going to lead to not being fat adapted and not really taking, this is not good for our biochemistry in general and our health.
That's
and
right.
our mental health needs to be 100%, especially for making all of these physical changes. And then, so yeah, they would probably be having a light lunch, a light breakfast, and then enjoying their evening. But if you are crushing program, if you are now on a higher calorie program, I would actually tell them. And I told one client recently, I'm like, they actually said the same thing. They're like, I'm going out on a ladies' night. There's going to be wine. And I'm like, I'm like, don't be scared. You've earned this. You've earned this. You've put in all of that hard work. Go for it and enjoy it.
Yeah. And most of the time anyway, if you're doing this, let's say once a week or once every couple of weeks or once a month, honestly, even if you indulge and end up eating or drinking 2,000 calories, or 3,000 calories, it's really not going to make that much of a difference. It's an ongoing thing where if you're doing that every day, on the other hand, then that's another conversation altogether, right?
Totally. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. That's great. Oh, Curtis, you're muted. Yeah. That's okay.
It keeps kicking me out. Okay. But on that note, I think it's really easy to sorry, I totally lost my train of thought. But if you're going out on a constant basis, like every single weekend, people are really good at being in like a maintenance mode. And that's what that is. So like, if you're not trying to create really great a difference and see a big change over the next 2 months, well, yeah, you can go out every single weekend and you can live in a maintenance mode. But if you're trying to create a big change, you do have to restrict yourself and stay away from some of that stuff for that period of time. But like everybody who gets on almost everybody who gets on program is just maintaining where they're at. So I always tell them, like, you're already good at maintaining. Like, we've got maintenance figured out. Let's get you killer results. Let's dial back on the drinking. Let's dial back on the Oreo cookies. Let's dial back on all the sugars. And after once you've gotten the results, you're going to be able to maintain very, very easily. But to change, you do need a period of time where you're not.
Makes sense. Yeah. And how long would you typically say it would take for, I mean, I guess everyone is different and it depends how much that training, but like how long would you typically say someone would need? Let's say I come to you, Curtis, and I'm like, hey, yo, dude, I need to get like results like yesterday. What do I have to do? Yeah. And I'm just saying.
You look trained. You look like you are regimented. So you would dial in super fast. Okay. Your body's going to respond super quick. But then someone, say like one of our clients who comes in and they are on the more large side, they've been operating in a calorie restriction diet. So like if you operate at a calorie restriction for too long, and most people are, thyroid hormone starts to slow down, and it's like a self-preservation technique that your body does. So now they've got slow operating metabolism. They are like Lisa gets like fat adapted. They aren't getting proper hormonal responses, and they don't know how to train. So what's the results going to look like for them? Dramatically different than someone else who may be the exact same size, but has been lifting weights and been working out the whole time and working on metabolism. We can drop 30 pounds off them really, really quick, but some other people are going to hang on to it. So it's like, it's an individual thing, and just gaining that knowledge. And the more knowledge, the more time you spend gaining that knowledge to get to the intuitive eating style, the more experience you have, and guaranteed the better your body's going to adapt.
That's awesome. I like that. Okay, perfect. Awesome. Okay. So now let's talk a little bit more about someone who is training to gain weight versus someone who's trying to lose weight or lose body fat and lose weight. Would the style of intuitive eating be the same, or is there slight difference in that, in terms of like caloric intake and everything? Let's just discuss a little bit more about caloric intake and what someone would do for people who don't know, right?
So when it comes to calories in, if we work with everybody, if we work with like an effectiveness pyramid, the very tip of the pyramid is going to be your calories. And that's kind of where everyone needs to start, is getting their calories in check. If you're in a surplus of calories, you're going to gain weight. If you're not doing the work and creating the reaction of actually growing muscle, then you're going to gain fat if you're in a surplus. Okay. If you're in too much of a surplus, then you're obviously going to gain body fat as well. The next stage is your macronutrients, carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, and having those in the right ratio. But like to stick to, and after that would be like nutrient timing and creating a different hormonal response from your food. So it's really nice when like if I have 2 Oreo cookies, I'm spiking insulin, and that's going to have like a hormonal change. So you can intuitively adjust on that. But speaking specifically on calories, everyone's going to be at a different caloric level. Like someone who's been starving, like in a deficit for too long, they need to reverse diet to slowly bring their metabolism up. And they need to, like, they're going to start seeing gains from less calories than someone who has a high metabolism. So again, it's completely individualized, but if you want to gain weight, you need more calories. You want to lose weight, we need to be in some kind of deficit. It's the trouble is when people are so low hormonally because they've been deficited for too long, we can't take away anymore. All we can do is add, and that's the I guess the headache of
That makes sense. So one thing that I always find challenging, at least with some people, is that they tend to skip meals. They don't eat enough. And instead of obviously losing weight, because they think, okay, if I'm not eating, that means I should be losing weight. And it's usually, especially for women, it's usually the diabolical opposite, right? So like what type of regime would you how would you address that if someone is really having a hard time keeping up with their meals when they should be eating? I mean, maybe they may be like 200 pounds and they are trying to lose weight, but they're not losing weight because again, we're playing around with hormonal levels here. What would be your approach on that one? I don't know, Lisa, you want to take over this one?
Yeah, thank you, Jacqui. So they would obviously need a calorie increase. We're going to have to rev up their metabolism somehow. And so I would just talk a little bit more about with the client on maybe perhaps approaching their diet. I'm not saying ketosis, but what I am saying is less carbohydrates. So becoming more fat adapted is going to rev up their metabolism. And then they are going to be able to consume that higher calorie meal, because fat is higher in calories than carbohydrates, and it's actually more satiating. So if an individual is having trouble in taking in proper calories and they're just like, they snack throughout the day, I would probably limit that because of the constant need to keep that carb cycling going through. So we constantly feed that hangry, that's that whole we're carb fueling then. And so I want to make my client become more fat fueling. And that's just, it's like would be about 2 to 3 meals a day, and they're large and they're filled with fat, healthy fats. And they're going to be running on fat as their primary fuel source. And it's actually going to spike up their metabolism rather than burning just on carbohydrates. So that's one way, is to become more fat adapted versus carbohydrate adapted.
Okay.
Which is very typical in Western society, right? Like every meal is pretty high in carbs.
Right. So. And do you guys take into consideration like the different body types that people tend to have? Like, you know how like you got endomorphs and ectomorphs and what's the other one? Mesomorphs. Some people need a lot more carb intake versus others. Do you guys take that into consideration when you guys are planning out individualizing the intuitive eating plan?
Yeah, everyone goes through like a little trial and error period where we're trying to figure out that individual person. So like some people are going to thrive more on carbs. Now, typically, if you're on a higher carbohydrate diet, like you're going to burn more carbs when your energy output is higher. So like if you work a construction job, you're blue collar, you're hard, like a hard working human being, you're going to get more carbohydrates throughout the day because that's going to be more of an energy system. If you're a desk sitter and behind a computer all day, like you're in a fat burning zone all day, like that being like you're utilizing fat as energy all day. So your energy calories, carbs or fats should be made up more of fat. Body type aside, it's more activity level that's going to get that great result.
Yeah. Okay, cool. That's awesome. All right. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about Lean Gainers and how you guys actually came together and you know, what drove you guys to this point of working together. I'm sure people want to
Can I tell the story of how you came in?
Yes, please.
Okay, I love this. Okay, so Lean Gainers. So I owned a gym. And then I sold it like 2 months before COVID, which is just like the luck of the world. And I went, and as soon as we were sent home, I went online and started Lean Gainers. Lisa and I had known each other. She's been coaching for quite a period of time, and then she's like, "Hey, I want to get started on your program." She came in as a client. Okay, she did 6 months, and the goal was to get her set up. Not just like be a good coach, look like a good coach, and set her up for success in her coaching career. At the end of her 6 month program, she looked good. Like she dominated, like she kicked butt. We talked every single week. At the end of the program, it was basically we did like an exit interview, and she's like, "Hey, I love this program. I love you. Here's what's good. Here's what's good."
I like
goes,
that. Yeah.
"You're not good at this. You're not good at this, and you dropped the ball on this." And I was just like, "Oh, okay, absolutely, constructive criticism. I love it." And then she goes, "I want to do that for you." And I was like, "You're freaking hired, okay?
This is incredible. I love that.
Yeah.
Lisa, can we work together so you can criticize what I do? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, and that's
no, but
what
seriously.
I said. Like, continue telling me everything that's wrong with this program so we can make it better. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So
that's the best.
Yeah.
That's when you know you've met your good business partner right there. Somebody who can tell it as it is. Yeah. Because we all need that sense of balance when we're working with, like, even when, I mean, sometimes when I'm working by myself, I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish I had somebody who would tell me, Jacqui, what you're doing is bull, right? Like, right? Yeah. But that is amazing. Okay, it's cool. And would you match that story there, Lisa? That's pretty much what happened.
Yep, pretty much.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. I love that. I love that. Okay, so she was hired right away. That's amazing. So how long have you guys been working together now? How long have you guys?
June of this year. Yeah, since June. But I've been with the program now. It's coming on to 1 year. As of December. So yeah,
that's amazing. That's great.
Oh
my gosh.
Every week for a year for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah. No, I love that story. Okay, so if people wanted to kind of reach out to you guys, find you guys, do you guys have a specific location? I mean, know you guys ran this program online, or it's just a matter of just like reaching out through email, Instagram, that kind of thing?
So social media is like the feed, like as the internet evolves, it's gone like to social media, and that's what people are using and looking at. And now the metaverse has come out now, so you need to get ready for that in the next 5 years, and I'm going to be an old man in that world for sure. But social media, so my social media, Coach_Curtis_fitness is like, that's my TikTok, that's my Instagram, of course my first and last name is my Facebook, and then Lisa's as well. And we bring people in, and then they get involved in the Lean Gainers Facebook group, and that's where we do most of our talking from and interactions. Of course, we have apps and other software in place to create good communication and deliver product to, but we're worldwide. Like this thing got launched while I was living in Mexico. There's people all over the United States. They're having Thanksgiving right now. I know you're posting this way after Thanksgiving, so.
Oh yeah, but they are. Yeah, no, everybody knows these are pre-recorded for the most part. So
we've got people in New Zealand on program. Like we're everywhere.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love that. Okay, cool. So yeah, I'll leave all the information in the show notes as well. If people want to reach out to you guys, they can.
We have a website. It is like, as of like today, I'm not techie. It's going up online, and we've got like this wicked roadblock. So I'm going to be on Fiverr tomorrow trying to find someone to fix it for me. Yeah. When this thing launches, it will be live.
It'll be live. Yep.
LeanGainers.com, LeanGainers.ca. We're just going to do both, unless someone's steals the .com one.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. No, that's amazing. I love that. Yes, I will put all of that on the show notes. You guys are amazing. Do you guys have any closing notes to kind of give the listeners out there, if there's anything else that you want to kind of speak out about, or any takeaways?
Yeah, I want to just say thank you again, Jacqui, for the opportunity. Yeah, It's been awesome. And for everyone who's listening out there, just remember that you are the reference point that for everything that is beautiful and good in the world. And change really starts with you. And whenever you're ready, you know where to find us. And I hope to connect with one of you soon. So thank you.
Absolutely. So the takeaway for today basically is, if you're in doubt in terms of your eating plan or anything like that, reach out to these guys. Intuitive eating is obviously the best way to do it, because then you're not spending your whole entire life not living your life. You want to be able to get into a regime, make it a lifestyle versus something that is a chore, right? A chore. 100%. All right. Perfect. Awesome. All right, just to close things off here, you guys, thank you so much for listening today. And thank you guys for joining us in this show today. If you guys have any questions for Curtis and Lisa, please don't hesitate to reach out to them. I'll leave all the information, that contact details in the show notes as well. If you can't find them, don't hesitate to email me at Jacqui@rhythmfitness.ca and I'll point you in the right direction. And also let us know what you guys think of our shows. Leave us a review and we appreciate you guys listening and we'll catch you guys on that next episode. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. Please do not forget to leave us an awesome review and don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and keep your notifications on for the next episodes ahead. If you'd like to be a guest on our show, please do not hesitate to contact us at Jacqui@rhythmfitness.ca.